Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to talk about the showback, right? So what is the showback? Showback is a concept, or not only concept, but it is a, uh capability, as well as it is maybe we can say it as a resource, or we can say it as a capacity that we can leverage for our organizations to show the cost for departments, different teams, different projects within the organizations, right? And this is a really important part of FinOps, right? So when we are going to implement the FinOps, we need to see as well as show the cost, how much we are spending on different projects, different implementation, different requirements, different set of tools, systems, and resources. Those are being used across the organizations, right? So I'm going to walk you through about all the capabilities of Showback, how we can leverage the Showback for our cost allocation. And Showback is a part of cost allocation, right? So it's the main category of it is going to be the cloud cost management, right? And then it's under cloud cost management, we have cost allocation, and then under cost allocation we would be using and enforcing the cost or the show back across the organizations to make sure how much we are spending, how much we are tracking, how much we are adding or excluding, or the different use cases based on the requirements and all of that, right? So let me go ahead and share my screen so that I can show you uh, on step by step, right? So here you can see uh, on the screen, uh, this is the showback, which is going to allow us enhancing the cost and visibility of financial responsibility of our spending across the organization, right? So what it does is it promotes the cost conciseness as well as the collaboration between stakeholders, between decision makers, between different departments, organizations, and overall across the organization, right? So this is how it is going to help us, right? And then uh, what is the agenda of this video? Going to talk about Showback, the purpose and benefits of Showback within FinOps, implementation of Showback in the organization, how we can implement it, right? And then Showback reports and analysis, and some case studies and best practices that we can leverage too, right? So introduction, right? So here's the basic definition, we can call it, right? So it is going to be what is the showback, right? So if anyone asks you, or maybe you might ask someone, what is the showback, right? And what is the core concept? What does it mean when we show, or when we say, what is the showback? Showback is just an is basically a collection of, or it is a cost allocation method, right? That provides different business units and departments visibility into their usage of cloud, not only cloud, but across the organization's IT resources, right? And it is based on the concepts of showing back of the costs to the departments as well as to the business, right? And that cost is going to be including IT resources on a department level, project level, business unit level, and overall organization usage, apart from not only that specific organization, but across the organization, right? So this way we can define it and show the cost back to the business, that how much we are spending for specific needs, specific requirements, specific implementation. And it is going to be any project, not only um, client project or internal project. It is going to be each and every project, and along with the project we need resources to work on those projects. For example, we might need AWS experts or Azure experts or Google Cloud experts, right? And those are also resources for the organizations to spend money, right? And to get the project done, as well as whatever the scenario or achievement they're trying to achieve, right? And maybe it could be innovation, it could be a experimentation of their product and services that they are offering or that they wanted to offer to the customers across the organization, maybe online platform or any platform. It doesn't matter, but they are still spending money. That means that is the cost, and that is the cost to the business, right? And this is how we can allocate the cost and show it back. So we can held the responsible to the respective department, as well as different teams, different project teams, different stakeholders, and people who are going to work on that respective innovation, experimentation, or the project all overall, right? So difference between showback and chargeback. So now you might be wondering why or what is a chargeback, or what is or why we wanted to calculate or see the difference between both, right? So there is a simple and straightforward difference between both of these is that chargeback is a method of billing departments or business units for their actual usage of IT resources, as well as the cloud spends or any resources that they are using. And this is going to help to see the cost and promote cost conciseness within the organizations. So for example, there's a finance department and we wanted to bring some different third-party tools or systems, as well as it could be finance experts hiring as well, right? And when we do all of that hiring or onboarding new systems and tools, that means we are spending a lot of money, right? And when we do that, we have to charge the same cost, same capacity to that respective department, so that we know how much we have spent on this respective department. Along with that, we also come to know how much business we are getting from this respective department, right? So this is the way to charge them back or to the respective stakeholders, maybe finance uh, expert or finance department's head would be CFO, or maybe finance head, or maybe any other person who is going to be managing all those financial departments or finance department in that case. So similarly, on the show back also, we can ask them whatever the costs you have spent on different systems, different utilization, different requirements, implementation, or innovation or experimentation, you have to show back that cost to the business as well as department wise, so that we come to know that this much was spending or this much was spent on different requirements, and that is when we have done or we made a business of this much cost, and we have spent this much cost on this particular project and requirement. So basis on that, we get to know how much was spent, what was the spent on different requirements, and basis on that, it is going to be allocating and holding the responsible to the respective departments and teams and projects and everything. So this is the basic and straightforward difference between both of these, chargeback and showback. The next is importance of showback in modern organizations. So, right. So what is the importance and why it is important for each and every organization these days? It is not only specific to any small scale or medium scale organizations, but this is also important for large scale organizations when or where they have larger teams. They are using different cloud platforms, and not only cloud platforms, but they are using a lot of different third-party systems for their business to run continuously, right? Even they are hiring a lot of people on different requirements or different expertise level and different platforms like Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, and third-party systems like SaaS solutions, NetSuite, Salesforce, Adobe. These are the different platforms. Those are also being used heavily for different business requirements. And to use those effectively, there is a need of experts as well, right? So if we have expert people to bring those systems on the business side, we need to implement right set of solutions for the business, and those solutions would be implemented and bring on to the business, right? And this is when it is going to incur a cost for business, as well as the different teams, different requirements, and different costs allocated to each of the business units. And this is when it is going to be something where we wanted to, or we have to show the cost back to the business, saying that we have implemented so and so projects, so and so capabilities within the organization. We have worked on improving processes for business, and those processes needs additional systems, additional tools, additional resources, additional hired experts, right? So all those are the part of costs, right? And it is going to cost, and whatever the cost was allocated to the department or organization, that is going to be the business cost at the end of the day. And the same cost needs to be showed back to the respective business or respective organizations who is going to monitor the cost and see that business has made so and so growth, so and so spending, and during this period, maybe last 3 months, last 6 months, or a year, right? So this way we get to see what was the cost allocation, what was the spend, and how we have drilled down to the cost savings opportunities as well. So we can get to see what are the different cost saving opportunities as well, and we can work on those opportunities to bring those capabilities as well, right? The next is purpose and benefits of Showback in FinOps, right? So what's the purpose? What's the benefit, right? So we'll see that in next few slides. So first is promoting the cost conciseness. So what does that mean is that Showback provides department-wise as well as business unit-wise visibility into their usage for their resources, different resources, which includes IT resources, systems, tools, softwares, and the hiring as well. So hiring as in, if they have hired people who are expert on different platforms, and those are also resources for the business unit, for the company, for the organization, and those are going to be something company has to pay, right? That means they are going to allocate particular budget, particular cost to it, and then as soon as they are onboarding people, onboarding tools, onboarding systems, they are starting to pay for that service, right? And this is the first step where they need to be concise, how much they are going to spend, how they are going to uh, get the opportunity to save additional costs. It is not something we keep spending money, but we also should look for the opportunities to save the cost and save the money for respective project, business, as well as how we can allocate the different costs for each of those business units. The next is foster collaboration among different stakeholders across the organization. So this is something, this is going to help and break down the silos or the miscommunication to between the organizations and stakeholders, and encourage the communication and cooperation between different departments, including engineering, then finance, then technology, as well as the different stakeholders across the organization who really needs to come together and collaborate and work on together to bring on the visibility of costs that they are allocating for different business units, different organizations, different project, different teams, and at the end of the day, for different resources that they are going to allocate for, right? So this is something, a key role or key player within the organizations to collaborate and work together to bring on the showback and chargeback onto visibility. So next is how we can enhance the data insights for better decision making process, right? So and why it is important? It is important because as soon as we have data insights, and that data can be used to make a better decisions, and the same can be shown back to the business, saying that we have utilized so much resources out of these many allocated resources and allocated budget, and now we wanted to maybe bring on some other additional capabilities of the system, additional capabilities of tools, additional resources onboarded, so that we can bring on additional innovation, additional experimentation of the product and services that we wanted to offer to the clients or projects. Or it could be internal project as well, but to make sure that we have everything in hand, right? We need to make a data decisions or decisions basis on the data that we have together collected throughout the journey that we started from the beginning. For example, the project was started at one point, and then we got to see that we have used so much of resources, we have spent so much of cost, and now we wanted to show it back to the business saying that we have utilized this, you have utilized this much, and now we wanted to see or show you that this was the specific cost we have spent. We have also different resources who are expertise on specific skills, and we need to onboard additional capabilities so that we can bring on different capabilities or services or features within the business so that it is going to improve on business efficiency as well as optimize the resources for the organizations effectively. So this is going to be a decision making process based on the data insights that we got from, and then we can show it back to the business and departments, right? So now we'll look around implementing Showback in an organization. So how we can implement it, what are the things that we need to take care of, and how things can be done, right? So strategic planning for the cost allocation, right? So how we can do that? There are different stages, different steps that we need to take up. So first step is to identify the level of granularity. Let's say strategic planning for cost allocation involves identifying the levels that we wanted to bring on, includes the cost allocation on a department wise or cost center or business unit, right? So how we can do that? Maybe we are allocating that cost for a specific department or cost center. So cost center could be a specific project, specific delivery center, maybe a specific client, right? And business unit is going to be a specific unit where we have a lot of resources who are working on different projects, different things around the business or different things across the organization. But so basis on that, we can allocate different costs and then we can plan accordingly further. Next is setting up cost allocation rules, how we are going to allocate the cost, and those rules are must be defined and identified and assigned those rules to the different departments, cost centers, and business units, right? So those rules are going to be deployed and assigned to the different departments, business units, and there should be a consistency and accuracy in the allocation of the cost as well, so that those departments, those cost centers are aligned with that and they are spending within their boundaries. And maybe if there are chances the budget or allocation is going beyond the allocation, then definitely there is another review of that is needed, and it is going to be basis on the needs and requirements again, right? And then next is defining Showback reporting and analysis, right? This is something wherein we need to see the reporting and analysis defined across the different departments, organization, business units, and see the how much cost was allocated, how much they have spent, and basis on that we get the meaningful reporting capabilities and reports that we can see and share across the organizations, and the decision can be made basis on the requirements again for the future planning and future forecasting for the next few months or a year or so. So to handle all of that is the different resources or different IT resources that we have is tagging resources for accurate expense tracking, right? So how we can do that? So by tagging resources with the relevant metadata is essential for the organizations to track and show back the cost to the organizations or the different respective departments, right? So in this case, let's say we are provisioning certain capabilities or certain resources within cloud provider cloud system, and we have to tag those resources so that those resources are using so much or whatever the cost is incurred, that cost is allocated and showed back to the respective department who is going to be the owner of that cost or maybe owner of that department, right? And the main thing here is the budget was allocated for this resources or for this project, but the respective team who handles those resources, they have to work on the allocation of the budget as well as allocation of the resources appropriately, along with the tagging and setting up those resources appropriately for the business unit, for the business requirements, for the organization, as well as for the applications and services that we are going to use, right? So this is when the tagging is going to be the one which is going to help to track down the expenses on each of those resources that we are going to leverage and use across the cloud platform. The next is tools, technologies can be effectively used to show the effective showback implementation, right? So first it includes cloud cost management platforms, IT asset management tools, and business intelligence solutions, right? So let's say the first one is cloud cost management, right? So how cloud cost management can be leveraged or used effectively, right? So it provides the visibility as well as it enables organizations to effectively show back the implementation of cloud platform, that how many resources were provisioned, how many resources were assigned, how many were used by different teams or different projects. And this is when it is going to give the complete picture of use as well as utilization of cloud platform and cloud services. The next is IT asset management tools. It is going to showcase that or keep tracking and give or allow us to manage the hardware as well as software assets that we are going to use for business, right? And basis on all of that, we can see how many are the software assets, how many are the hardware assets, what is the cost of each, how are we managing effectively, are those in used in any of the business use case or business requirements. And basis on that, we can see how we have implemented, what are the uses and different categories, and we can show back to the business. And the next is business intelligence solution. So this is an a solution or method we can say to collect, analyze, and visualize the data, and which enables to show us the showback implementation across the organization with the data-driven insights, so that we can take the appropriate decisions going forward. And those decisions would be helpful for implementing additional budgets, allocating additional resources, maybe allocating or adding additional resources across the organizations, right? So this way, we know how much data or how much spend was done on different departments and different services that we have used. The showback reports and analysis, right? So why it is needed and why we wanted to or why we should leverage it, right? So there are different things like resource usage. So the components of detailed showback reports is going to be contained of resource usage as well as cost of each, the department or business unit allocation, and the metadata, right? So this way we can see that how much we are spending, what was the need, or what was the requirement of each of the business units or each of the project, right? So resource usage is nothing but it's going to show us the visibility of different resources that we have provisioned within the organization for the different applications or different projects, including CPU, memory, storage, and network usage, right? And it is going to give us the visibility of all of that utilization. The cost is going to showcase that what was the cost associated each of those resources, and basis on that we get to see particular cost was allocated and used by particular infrastructure, includes infrastructure cost, license cost, and labor cost, right? And we can decide or we can define the cost allocation and compare those costs, and that gives an visibility how much we have spent, how much we have saved, what are the different opportunities for us to work on to save the additional cost on it. The next is department as well as business unit allocation. So it is going to give us the information on department as well as business unit allocation level, and provides insights into how we are using or utilizing the resources effectively across the organization, right? And the last is metadata. So metadata is something we can use and see how the resources are tagged for during what time, or what are the time periods when those resources were used for the business, for the requirements of the business and applications. And then we can calculate the allocation as well as spending, and it is going to help us to take the data or the decisions on the data that we get from, right? So next is interpreting cost breakdowns and anomalies of the spendings, right? So analyzing cost breakdowns and identifying anomalies is going to be the one thing that is really going to help the organization as well as the respective department to make sure that they are spending money for the different resources, different applications, different capacities, and the requirements, right? So this is going to be the continuous process where we would be keeping analyzing as well as identifying anomalies across the systems or platforms that we are going to use, for example, AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, right? And basis on that, we will get to know that we are using these many systems, platforms, and let's say we don't need maybe more than 10 licenses. We can reduce those licenses and we can save their cost, right? So this is something we can go ahead and show back that we have saved cost for 10 licenses and we are leveraging and using only 10 licenses out of 20, right? So this is going to help us as well as the organization overall to identify and save the cost, and we can show it back to the organizations as well. Next, utilizing insights for resource optimization, right? So how it is going to help us or the business. So Showback is going to give us or provide valuable insights, which is going to showcase resource utilization as well as usage and the cost reductions, right? And so basis on all of that, together we get to see the visibility of everything, and we can work on that, how we can effectively use those resources, and we don't have to spend additional penny, right? And then we can leverage the different capabilities of its platform, leverage all of those services which are really need for business, really need for innovation, experimentation, a specific project, and basis on that we can take further decisions too. And next is going to be the case study and some real world examples that I wanted to show you here or talk about, right? So the first is going to be cost saving opportunities. In many cases, companies successfully implement showbacks and have achieved significant cost savings by effectively managing and allocating different resources. But to do that, as I talked about or walk you through about all of these process and steps, those are really needed and those needs to be implemented. And there is also an responsibility of each of those departments, units, and organizations who really need to take care of their spends and show back it to the stakeholders. And then each organization is going to leverage their allocated budgets for their requirements. The next is going to be improved resource utilization. Is going to also show that how much resources we have and how many are utilized effectively, and strategically planning and tagging those resources appropriately so that we get to see visibility. We have complete visibility on it, as well as we are not spending apart from or additional cost on it, right? And we are in the budget, we are not overspending on it. And the best practices is to have effectively utilized best practices, including strategic planning, tagging resources, and utilizing tools and technologies that cloud service providers also do provide us. And apart from that, there are third-party solutions as well that we can leverage for implementing the FinOps practices, FinOps best practices, and get to see the cloud cost or cost saving opportunities for us to implement on. And here are some common challenges and solutions that we can also talk about, right? So the first is granularity for cost allocation, resource tagging, and stakeholder buy-in. So the first is going to be allocate the cost, right, and identify the cost allocation as well. And then basis on that, we can decide the, or we can strategic planning, right? And then we can implement effective solutions to address those challenges, right? The next is resource tagging. By tagging those resources effectively, we can make sure that cost is visibility or cost visibility is assigned and is driven with the data decision making process for the future, how much we are spending, and make sure that we have allocated respective taggings and we get to see the visibility on it. And we don't run into a situation when we don't know what resources or what tagging is used for different projects, so that the cost is being incurred, but we really don't know how much or what tools and systems we are using for our requirements and usage. The next is stakeholder buy-in. So by gaining buy-in process from stakeholders can be significant challenging at one point when there is a specific budget allocated, and fostering collaboration across the organizations can effectively provide a solution. For example, the finance department is going to allocate a budget, and engineering and other departments are expecting some additional budget or more resources that they need to implement or on a different projects, right? So in that's the challenge at one point. But when there is a appropriate communication and collaboration happening between the organization departments, then definitely they are going to allocate certain budgets basis on the different conditions, different requirements, and then it's going to solve the problem for that respective use case, respective solutions, right? There are few best practices for maintaining accuracy and transparency across organization, right? So which is going to be regularly review cost allocation rules, utilizing automation tools, and foster the culture of financial responsibility, right? So these are very important best practices. So by regularly seeing and watching the cost allocation for each department, each organization, it is going to let people know that they have particular budget and they have to be in that particular budget only, and they don't have to go back, or maybe they didn't have to move out of that budget, but they also need to make sure they are providing right set of services, right set of solutions to the business and units and departments, and they are also working on their implementation or the projects that they are allocated to, right? The utilization automation tools is going to work on the best practices, which is going to give us the accuracy and transparency to show back to the business, and basis on the automation that we are going to work on and build on, it's going to reduce the errors and ensure consistency on the cost allocation and the reporting capabilities as well. So we get to see the visibility on each of those as well. The fostering culture of financial responsibility means that when you are allocating particular or certain budgets, then each department or organization has to maintain that accuracy and transparency so that they can show it back later, and includes financial process implementation or encouraging them to take the ownership of their costs, also promoting transparency in financial reporting so that they can make sure everything is appropriately handled. And it could be adding additional training for employees, additional tools and systems and everything together, right? So all of that is also needed to use, and they have to show it back to the business. And towards end of this is that what really Showback is going to be doing in all of this process, right? So Showback is going to be the powerful system or tool which is going to enhance the cost visibility and promotes financial responsibilities for the organization. And by utilizing Showback best practices, insights, organizations can achieve significant cost savings and optimize the resource utilizations. So yeah, this is how we can show back the cost to the business, and we can also look for an cost saving opportunities for the organizations by implementing Showback as well as chargeback, cloud cost management or cost management capabilities across the organizations, which really is going to help us, right? So yeah, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, any doubts, please put them into comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, right? And yeah, that's for it. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.